Ladies and gentlemen, there are 212 people in the hall. What I'd like to do now is we are live on Channel 30, as most of you are aware. And I'm going to make an appeal to the couch sitters and the people in every calm down. We don't need that many more people that I don't think we can't achieve this. If everyone can sit tight. And we do have the benefit of Channel 30 to get more people down here. So I would appeal to all of you at home right now to, it's a nice evening. We've got some very important articles to deal with, including especially the budget for the next fiscal year. I would encourage you to come down right now, if you would, and we will take a, we will recount the quorum at 8 o'clock, which is 13 minutes from now. We'll take another count at that time. Thank you all. Yeah, if we get everyone inside the hall now, we'll take another count. Please, everybody remain stationary so we can see how close we are. Ladies and gentlemen. That's what I have. Great show. There are 242 people in the hall. It is now 3 past 8, 2:44, excuse me. And I'm going to wait about 5 minutes. Okay? Why don't we do that? Why don't we do a recount first? Everyone please stay in the hall. Stay in the hall. If our tellers can count once more, we got the bell. If everyone would stay stationary, we're going to do a recount at this time. Thank you. With some recent additions of people coming in, I'm happy to say there are now 256 people in the hall. And it is my pleasure to declare this meeting open. First of all, I'd like to thank Continental Cablevision for showing this meeting live on Channel 30. We thank Continental Cablevision for their interest in Clinton Town government in providing this service, and I personally want to thank them because I think they were instrumental in helping us achieve a quorum this evening. I'd like to thank Philip O'Toole for serving for 3 years on your Finance Committee. I can personally tell you the job is grueling, it is difficult, it is thankless, and it doesn't pay. And he served for 3 years and served it very well. I'd also like to thank Attorney John Mitchell, who has volunteered to take his place. That was the last one. Your stage members for tonight's meeting are as follows. On your far right, Selectman John McNamara. Newly elected member of the Board of Selectmen, Tony O'Loughlin. Tony, congratulations on your election and welcome to the Board of Selectmen. Selectman Robert Campaign. Selectwoman Mary Rose Dickow. Mary Rose, welcome back to the Board of Selectmen and congratulations on your election as well. The Chairman of the Board, Michael Ward. Solicitor William Conley. Selectman's Assistant, Richard Monturi. And coming out of retirement, our clerk stenographer, Mary O'Brien. I'll be your moderator this evening. In keeping with a policy that we adopted 2 years ago, the only hands that will be counted during hand votes of this meeting will be from people who are seated in seats in the hall. So I would encourage all standees to find a seat before we take the first vote. All speakers must be recognized by the moderator before speaking. All questions, comments, or discussion should be directed to the moderator. I will redirect that to the appropriate person for a response. Please note personalities in your remarks and keep all comments to the article under discussion. Please state your name and address before speaking. All proposed amendments should be presented to me in writing. The only people in the hall now should be registered voters of the town of Clinton or people who have been given prior permission by myself to observe the proceedings. Unless I hear an objection, I will dispense with the reading of the warrant, as you should all have copies in front of you at this time. And with that, take Article 1.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to receive the reports of the town officers.
Second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 1 having been made and seconded to receive the reports of the town officers. Annual article. Any questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor, please indicate by raising your hand now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed.
Mr. Moderator, Article 2. I move that the town vote to fix the salaries and compensation of all elected officials of the town as provided by Section 108 of Chapter 41 of the Mass General Laws as amended, said salaries and compensation to be effective from July 1, 1992 to June 30th of 1993, and to raise and appropriate a sum of money therefore.
I second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 2 having been made and seconded to fix the salaries of all elected officials in the town of Clinton for the next fiscal year. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor, indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 3.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F and a half, to create an ambulance enterprise fund for the town ambulance service and defray the costs of the following line items in the fire department budget. EMT comp pay, $48,616. EMT training tuition, $8,100. EMT training miscellaneous expenses, $2,000. Ambulance miscellaneous expenses, $8,500. Ambulance wages, $6,500. Ambulance overtime, $3,000. Total amount to be raised through ambulance fees, $76,716.
I second that, Mr. Moderator.
An amendment has been made to Article 3. Basically, what this amendment will do, ladies and gentlemen, it's just trying to make it a little more clear in terms of what the article is all about. Because if you read it, it's a little vague. So this just breaks it down into what the money is appropriated for in terms of the ambulance. Okay, questions, comments, or discussion on the amendment? Mr. Montori.
As the moderator has stated, the amendment clarifies what the article will be funding through ambulance service fees. From discussions with the Department of Revenue, in order for a town to create an enterprise fund, you must first be specific in what line items are being appropriated, and secondly, you must show what you're estimating your receipts to be. The line items are listed there, and the estimated revenue is $76,716, and that's the purpose of the amendment.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion on the amendment to Article 3? There being none, we will vote on the amendment first at this time. All those in favor of the amendment to Article 3 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The amendment is passed unanimously. We will now, unless there is questions, comments, or discussion, there being none, we will now vote on the entire article as amended. All those in favor of Article 3 as amended, please indicate by raising your hand now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 4.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate from the current tax levy $13,591,156. Transfer $49,428.80 from Cemetery Trust Fund. Transfer $3,644.83 from 10% administrative fee account. Transfer $1,356.03 from Reserve for Appropriation Insurance account. Transfer $37,550 from Ambulance Revolving account. And transfer $76,716 from the Ambulance Enterprise Fund as may be deemed necessary to defray town charges from July 1, 1992 to June 30th, 1993, as those charges appear in the Finance Committee report of recommendations.
I second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 4 having been made and seconded. Article 4 is your annual town budget starting for the fiscal year that begins July 1. What I'd like to do, if you have your annual reports, is I suggest you turn to page 3F under the Finance Committee report, 3F. The far right-hand column is the recommended budget from your Finance Committee to you. As you know, the Finance Committee is an advisory board. They are advising this budget as presented in the far right-hand column to you. In the middle column is the budget from last year, for comparison's sake, if you're looking at that. All right, what I'll do is I'll go through this department by department. If you have a question, comment, or what have you on any particular area of the budget, when I'm going over that certain section, that is probably the time you might want to raise your hand to bring up your point. If you haven't seen this before now, I recognize it's virtually impossible for you to really follow along at any sort of a pace and digest this budget. After I have gone through every department, I will have a catch-all where if you found something that you would like to bring up and we've already gone over that department, you may at that time go back and we will address your issue at that time. Starting at the top of page 3F, questions, comments, or discussion. Moderator? Selectman's office? Ma'am?
My name is Lorraine Rosenthal. I live at 117 Water Street in Clinton. And Mr. Moderator, I move to amend Article 4 on page 3F, under line item heading Selectman Administrative Assistant, to change from $37,100 to read $25,000, and to change the subtotal to read $76,860, and to move the $12,100 to the line item Finance Committee Reserve to read $47,100, and Finance Committee subtotal to read $49,100.
On page 3F, this amendment would change the Selectman's Administrative Assistant from a far right-hand column salary of $37,100 to $25,000, and would change the subtotal to read $76,860, and would then move the $12,100 difference to the Finance Committee Reserve. Is there a second on that motion? Motion having been made and seconded. What this would do would reduce the salary of the Selectman's Administrative Assistant from $37,100 to $25,000. Questions, comments, or discussion under the amendment to the motion? Mr. King. Sir.
Edward Cade, 1 Coolidge Place. Mr. Moderator, ladies and gentlemen, every year at town meeting it's become an annual thing to get rid of Mr. Montori. I don't agree with him on everything. I can pick him out on a number of issues, but he has done you good service. And you look at the page in this town report for other people, he's certainly worth the money he's getting. This motion should be defeated. If you don't like Mr. Montori, why don't you go to your Board of Selectmen and have him replace him instead of cutting wages? It's a bad practice to start cutting wages because it'll end up even going further. And take a look at this town. I'm asking you to defeat this. It's not in the best interest of the town of Clinton. Thank you.
Mr. Ward.
Mr. Moderator, I would like to rise to ask that this amendment be defeated also. As was stated, this is becoming an annual event, and I can't understand why. I think that the position, but more than the position, Richie Montori has earned every penny of that salary that we've given him. And I think that he's deserved of that salary. He's done a tremendous job for the town. And as was stated also, if there's problems, or I hope not, but if there's personality problems, that should be addressed with the Board of Selectmen. He is an administrative assistant to the Board of Selectmen. He gets his duties and jurisdiction from this board. So if there's a problem with him or his performance, that we as a Board of Selectmen have to take that responsibility. And I think it is absurd that we go on with this, and I hope that this doesn't take up too much of our time tonight, and that he should keep the salary what he has and not to be playing around with this budget. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Ma'am.
Christine Flaherty, 410 Water Street. I think it's going to be an annual thing to see me up here too, because the man earns his salary. It's probably one of the hardest jobs you'll ever get. And he works hard for the town, and as one of the town employees, I can say he's a big help to me to know that there's somebody across the street all the time that you can call and ask assistance or advice. But cutting his salary to $25,000 is ridiculous. I think it's time to stop this. Just like you said, get on with the meeting and leave Rich alone.
Sir.
Mr. Moderator, it is an annual thing and it's getting sickening. I would like at this time, Mr. Moderator, to ask the person that made this amendment to come up and explain why it was presented, under what premise, and why other avenues weren't taken. I'm tired of it.
Okay, I can't, in all fairness, you know, this article, this amendment, proposed amendment is under discussion. If the individual would like to come up, she's welcome to, and she would not, that's her privilege, really. I can't force anyone to speak. Is there any further discussion on this proposed amendment to the town budget?
Mr. Moderator?
Sir, Mr. McNamara.
I respectfully submit to you people in attendance here to defeat this amendment. Mr. Montori is worth every penny of the $37,500. Thank you.
Unless there's any further discussion on this proposed amendment change, we'll take a vote on it now. There being none. If you vote yes, you are voting to cut the salary of the selectman's assistant from $37,100 to $25,000. If you vote no, you will be voting to retain the salary at the present level of $37,100. Anyone not clear on how they would like to vote? Okay. All those in favor of the proposed amendment to cut the salary, please indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. Okay, that is defeated. We will go back now on page 3F, still under Selectman's Office. Finance Committee. Town Accountant. I said Selectman. We'll go back. We're going to go back. We'll go back. Town Accountant. Town Solicitor. Collective Bargaining. Parking Fines Administrator. The Assessor's Office. Treasurer's Office. Tax Collector. On the top of page 4F, Miscellaneous. Town Clerk. Conservation. Planning Board. Zoning Board of Appeals. Office of Community and Economic Development. Town Hall. Veterans Rents. Town Report Preparation. Pensions, Annuities. Over to page 5F, the Police Department. Sir.
Mr. Moderator, I wish to amend the police budget line item police clerk salary from $11,743 to $15,000, to increase the total police budget to $977,699. I'd like to decrease the total in the finance reserve account $3,257 to $31,743. Leave the finance committee subtotal $33,743.
We have a motion under the Police Department budget where it says police clerk salary. The seventh line down, far right-hand column, where it presently says $11,743. This motion would change that by increasing it by $3,257 to a total of $15,000. And to pay for that, the amendment would decrease the Finance Committee reserve budget by a like $3,257 from $35,000 to $31,743. Is there a second to that motion? Okay. Motion is made and seconded. Any questions, comments, or discussion on this proposed amendment to the Police Department budget? Sir.
Mark Lovinger, 13 Long Edge Road. I'm the chief of police in town. And I would not ordinarily get up here and ask to amend a budget that has gone through the process. But I feel that in fairness to my secretary, I must. When the secretary started the job 4 years ago, they reduced her salary, the starting salary that we advertised at, and it was with the understanding that it would be increased after some time in service. The increase never came. The increase that is requesting is what's equitable to other town secretaries working in town. And there's no question of the quantity and quality of the secretary's work, which is outstanding. Thank you.
Mr. Montori.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Unfortunately, an amendment like this puts myself and the Board of Selectmen as well as other public officials in a very difficult position, because when you oppose an amendment for a raise, you automatically are labeled as not being satisfied with the person's performance. And in this case, and in any other case with non-union workers, that is not true. Non-union employees have not seen a raise in the last couple of years. And the reason they have not seen a raise is because of the difficult financial times, as we all know about. The Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen went through this process and have indicated to each department throughout the whole process that there will be no raises given to non-union, and that salaries will be level funded. This amendment goes around the process, and the reason why it should be defeated is because of fairness to all other non-union employees, and that raises should be given to all non-union employees down the road in the future when the Finance Committee and the Selectmen have voted on what they deem necessary and what they deem appropriate for these people to get for raises. Nothing against the person that the raise is given for or the work that this person does. This is not the time or the place for the raise, and it should be done by the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee in conjunction with discussions of all the departments for all non-union personnel. Thank you.
Still under discussion on the proposed amendment to the Police Department budget. Sir.
Paul Stevenson. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a police sergeant in Clinton. I see more of this girl than even the chief does. And I know that she's in half an hour early almost every day. And I know that she leaves sometimes half, 3/4 of an hour late. And she must be a saint to put up with the 24 of us. And I think she deserves the raise. She hasn't had one in 4 years.
Still under discussion of the proposed amendment. Is there any further discussion? Ma'am.
Marie Kittredge, 94 Franklin Street, Tax Collector's Office. We have not gotten a raise in our office either. I'm the Assistant Tax Collector and would be making less than what this clerk would be making. We have a girl in our office that's been there for 4 years and has yet to see a raise. What's fair for one is fair for all.
Still under discussion under the proposed amendment to the Police Department budget. Is there any further discussion? There being none, we will take a vote at this time. You are voting on the amendment to the police clerk's position in the proposed budget. If you vote yes, If you vote yes, you are voting to increase the salary from $11,743 to $15,000. If you vote no, you are voting to leave the salary at $11,743. All those in favor of the proposed amendment indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The motion is defeated. We are still under the police department budget. Any further? If not, we can move over to page 6F and the fire department. On page 7F, building inspector, gas and plumbing inspector, sealer of weights and measures, wire inspector, animal inspector, annuities, civil defense, dog officer, school department, on page 8F, the Department of Public Works, which is, it's an entirety, the entire page. Street department is the top paragraph, then you have the cemetery and the water department. On page 9F, the Board of Health. Council on Aging. Veterans Department. On 10F, the Library Department. Parks and Recreation. Okay. Ma'am.
Mary Neely, 43 Cedar Street. I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $3,795 from the stabilization fund into the following library accounts. Library Director, $1,166, changing that line item to $24,486. Children's Librarian, $696, changing that line item to $14,618. Librarians, $1,439, changing that line item to $30,224. Library Custodian, $494, changing that line item to $10,371. And that the town also vote to transfer the amount of $607 from the library expense account to the library books, AV, and periodicals, changing those line items as follows.
Mary, that'd have to be separate.
Huh?
That'd have to be separate, I think.
It would
You're
have
just
to be
doing a
separate.
transfer there.
All right.
Yeah, I just want you to stop with the one.
Okay,
And
well,
then
the
then we
sal-
can do another one after.
All right. The salary changes represent a 5% increase for all the library staff who have not received an increase since fiscal year 1989. The trustees feel that while this does not compensate for the previous years, it at least indicates an appreciation of our staff and their work. We would like to point out that only non-union town employees have been denied pay increases since fiscal year 1989. While we appreciate the town's fiscal difficulties, we do not consider the small amount requested significant enough to be denied. It's $3,795.
Okay, a motion has been made to change the library department budget as follows. Library director, from $23,000, far right-hand column, $23,320, increasing it by $1,166 to $24,486. Children's librarian, which is the fourth line down, would go from $13,922 to $14,618. Librarians would okay, librarian salaries, that is? Okay, librarian salaries, the second line down, from $28,785 to $30,224. And library custodian, which is the fifth line down. I'm sorry, thank you. Third line down, from $9,877 to $10,371. And increase the bottom line of the library department by a like amount. Is there a second to that motion? Okay. Motion is made and seconded to that motion. My understanding is that this will be a 5% raise, I guess. Questions, comments, or discussion under the proposed amendment to the library budget? Mr. Montori.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Once again, it was the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen's intent to level fund all salaries. We're not saying, and no one is saying, that the library staff is not deserving of a raise. Again, that non-union personnel, all of them are deserving of a raise, but the money is not there. $3,795 is significant when you take into consideration the type of cuts that were made by the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. Another issue that needs to be understood is that the Selectmen and the Finance Committee went back into the library's budget after cuts were made and restored funds in order to maintain the service that the library is accustomed to. Not the total service that they're accustomed to, but a level of service that would have been cut. They hoped that by restoring some funds that hours would be put back and that there would be an increase in the books and periodicals account. So the Selectmen and the Finance Committee do have a concern about the library as far as the service goes. They do compliment and commend the staff at the library, but there are no funds at this time to give raises, and in fairness to all non-union employees, raises should be discussed at a later time and all at once. Thank you.
Any further discussion under the proposed amendment, sir?
My name is Philip Bailey, 340 Church Street, Chairman of the Finance Committee. We reviewed all these budgets with all the town departments. We have had a year, this year, that we've been telling the registered voters for the last 3 years was coming. And we have had to, and the statement's been made that non-union people haven't got a raise. Neither has the union people gotten a raise. The contracts were held in line by the school department, fire department, police department, and we have had 100% cooperation from the departments. We sat with the library, we increased their budgets because of their new facility over there. We've done everything we possibly could, and we are telling you that this is the last year. If things don't turn around, we're going to either have to come up here next year, and I'm not looking for a re-election, but we'll be looking for maybe an override, cutting more people, cutting services. People will be coming up here, why don't we close down the library for a little bit? All right? This is what we're going to be faced with. We've got to hang together this year. You've got to support the selectmen and all the departments. We've made some real savage cuts in those budgets. And all the departments. I've talked to every single head of department, from the police, the fire, the Board of Health, all the way down, and they're all cooperating. And we have to help them. We, the townspeople, have to help these departments. We're all in it together. Please support the budget the way we have it. We'll pull it through this year. Thank you.
Still under discussion on the proposed amendment changes to the library budget.
I'd just like to say that the $3,795 is for 7 people. It's not just for one person. And I believe that the other departments have gotten raises in the past 3 years, maybe not last year, but over the past. And every year they've been told that they would get raises. I don't even like the word raises, salary increases, and they haven't. And this year the library trustees decided to get together and speak for the people who work for the library.
Any further discussion? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. If you vote yes, you are voting to increase the salaries from the 4 line items in the library budget to what I read you earlier. If you vote no, you will be retaining the budget at the level and that you see in your annual report. Anyone not clear with that? Okay, all those in favor of the proposed amendment indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. Motion is defeated. No. Still on to the library department. On page 10F, the Parks and Recreation. Fuller Field. Going over to 11F. Miscellaneous. And what you have at the bottom of 11F is a recap of the entire budget, giving you a budget of $13 million. A proposed budget, which has not been amended at this time, of $13,578,856. At this time, I'm going to go back, and I won't take anything in the budget that we just got over and you're just coming to now, and I realize it's a very in-depth thing. Sir.
Anthony Carboni Jr., 260 Sterling Street, Clinton. Mr. Moderator, in keeping with the Department of Environmental Protection correspondence and regulations, I move to amend Article 4 on page 3F, line item of the Selectmen's budget reading recycling expenses to read 0, and to place the amount of $15,000 in the Board of Health budget on page 9F, line item 15, reading rubbish maintenance and disposal to read $117,000, changing the Selectmen budget total to read $73,960, and Board of Health total to read $257,100.
Okay. This proposed amendment would take on page 3F, under the Selectmen's Department, next to last line item, recycling expense, in the far right-hand column, it says $15,000. That would become 0. It would take that same $15,000 and move it over to page on 9F, where it says rubbish maintenance and disposal, which is the last line item in the Board of Health budget, changing that from $102,000 to $117,000, and then increasing the total budget for the Board of Health by the same amount and decreasing the Selectman's Office budget by the same amount. Is there a second to that motion? There is. Second. Questions, comments, or discussion under this? Mr. Montori.
Mr. Moderator, the intent of creating a recycling account in the Selectmen's budget was to allow the Recycling Commission, which is under the jurisdiction of the Board of Selectmen, or the Board of Selectmen appointed the Recycling Commission, to have a separate budget and to pay for their bills for recycling as they come in. For the past couple of years, the amount for recycling has been included in the rubbish maintenance and disposal account, and through discussions with the Finance Committee, the Board of Health, and the Board of Selectmen, there has been problems in the past of who was supposed to pay bills and who had the authority over the account. And it is clear that the Board of Health does have the authority over the account, and that is why the account was broken out to have a separate fund for the Recycling Commission and a recycling account for them to administer through the Selectmen's office. Thank you.
Still under discussion on the proposed amendment change. Sir.
Mr. Moderator, through you to the people, this is not asking for any increase in money burdens on the taxpayers of the town of Clinton. It just makes perfect sense to me that if solid waste management is the burden of the Board of Health, the responsibility of the Board of Health, the decisions and comes under Board of Health regulations by Department of Environmental Protection, EPA, and so on, then solid waste management also in all of their criteria for solid waste management includes recyclables. So it makes perfect sense that one board be handling one thing, solid waste management, recycling being a part of it. It's just moving money from one administrative board to the board that has to make the decisions on solid waste management for you people.
Mr. Montori.
Mr. Moderator, a couple of years back, the town meeting voted to approve the acceptance of Mass General laws to create a recycling commission and to allow that commission to oversee recycling and to oversee any money spent on recycling. I understand what the chairman of the Board of Health is saying, but it makes sense that if the Recycling Commission themselves is responsible solely for recycling, it makes sense that they should oversee the money that is spent on recycling, not the Board of Health.
Sir.
Edward Kane, 1 Coolidge Place. Mr. Moderator, ladies and gentlemen, there has been an ongoing battle probably you haven't heard about between the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Health to some degree. The question here tonight is that before we act on this article, we should know who is better qualified to handle this money. What will give the town of Clinton better service, and is the town actually, with the stories and rumors around town, making money on these recyclable goods? There's one to a large effect is that you're recycling this paper. It'd be cheaper for you to put it into rubbish. I don't think it's a matter of who handles the money, it's what you people get for service. I think they should trash it out here tonight. Thank you.
Sir.
My name is Joe Gibbons, 85 Grove Street, and Mr. Moderator, the problems that arose between the Board of Health, because I was on the Board of Health at the time, was when the Board of Health started to take a look at the figures of the recycling center. We got a report where it turned around and it told the townspeople it's only costing $51 a ton to recycle. Turn around and look at that paper, it says it doesn't look right. You got 565.5 ton, it costs you $30,000. I think you're wrong there. Going through it and you figured it out, they had lost, just on the sticker fees alone, it cost you an extra $16,000, not counting the extra $39,000 you lost, almost $50,000 recycling. Now, I'm in favor of recycling, but they never paid attention to it until the Board of Health found out that they did have control on it and started to question these things. Half of these vouchers that were paid are totally ridiculous. They shouldn't have been paid. The first thing we did is we questioned the cost of the containers that are over there and the fees. Next thing we find out, the next day by magic, in comes the contractor that says, we're not going to charge you any more $30 a ton. What's that, magic? Yeah, the guy woke up and found out somebody's paying attention. I think the Board of Health should control it and they should pay attention to it. Thank you.
Still under discussion under the article, ma'am. under the amendment, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name's Deborah Grant. I'm from 17 Clamshell Road in Clinton, and I'm the chairman of the Recycle Commission. The Recycle Commission has established the Recycle Center on its own with some supervision from the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Health never has offered to help us out or never has offered alternatives to the recycling. Mr. Gibbons made note of a tipping fee that was charged by the contractor who we contract with. It was costing us $35 a ton to remove the newspaper because there is no market for newspaper. You know, we realized this and we wanted to do something about it, but there was no alternatives at the time. In February, I contacted the person who we have removed the recycling goods and talked to him about reducing the tipping fee, because I learned that there was no longer a tipping fee to the particular place where he was taking the newspaper. As a result of that, we've saved, since February, $920 a month on just recycling of newspaper, which will realize the town $11,000 plus in a savings this year. That's just for newspaper alone. We're currently working on a new plastics recycling system. When we implement this, we'll also be saving $370 a ton a month for plastics. We are doing everything we can to reduce the costs of recycling, and we're always overseeing the recycling operation and trying to reduce it any further, because I am a taxpayer also, and I do pay for recycling too. So we don't want to charge anyone any more than we have to, and we are always looking for alternatives. If anyone has any alternatives, we do meet, and we'd be glad to listen to anyone who has alternatives. We think recycling is a good program, and right now it's not state mandated, but in the future it will be. We do have a good recycling program in place now, and hopefully we'll keep it that way. And we are always trying to reduce the costs.
Still on the discussion on the proposed change in Article 4. Is there any further discussion there?
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Ward.
Mr. Moderator, I'd just like to speak against this amendment. I believe that the Recycling Commission is competent and responsible enough to handle the task. It's a board, again, that is appointed by the selectmen. I feel they should have the ability to control the funds in this account. And recycling is a changing market. And we can't just have knee-jerk reactions to a changing market. We've got to be consistent. This Board of Selectmen are the ones that took the responsibility to institute a trash sticker fee. We didn't like doing it. It was a tough decision. But we're not going to turn around and another board, which isn't responsible for that fee, to be making decisions on what it is and is not going to be recyclable. The newspapers are a problem. I think the Recycling Commission is dealing with them. But if they get knocked out of the recycling center and they say, well, it's costing cheaper to send them up in the trash, maybe costing overall the town, but each person in their household is going to be paying extra to put their sticker on the bag, and it's going to cost them more. So where's the savings there? The person that's putting it out there is still going to pay. And I was against knocking out the papers out of the recycling. I think the Recycling Commission has a good hold on the problem, and they can work with it and take input and do a good job for the town. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Sir.
Mr. Moderator, ladies and gentlemen, I had hoped to open Pandora's box to a certain degree for your benefit. And after hearing the discussion, sooner or later the state is going to force recycling down your throat. They're going to do it across this Commonwealth. From what I have just heard from the floor of this hall, my recommendation for all it's worth is keep the money where it is. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion under this proposed amendment? There being none, we will take a vote at this time. If you vote yes, you are voting to transfer the money from the Selectmen Department to the Board of Health Department. If you vote no, You are voting to retain it as it is written in your town report. All those in favor of the proposed transfer indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The motion is defeated. No, it wasn't. It was not even close, really. It was not even close. We will now go to the budget again. Overall, ma'am, why don't you come forward, please? State your name and address.
My name is Claire Lentz, and I live at 16 Lorraine Avenue. And on page 5F, underneath the policeman's budget, I'm just asking a question. Crossing guard uniforms went up from $100 to $500. We've been very careful about pay increases for people who are supporting families. And I'm just questioning why we've gone over a $400 clothing expense for crossing guards. What does that encompass when the crossing guard's salary has gone down? So we must be eliminating some crossing guards.
Mr. Montori.
Mr. Moderator, the crossing guard uniform account was $500 in fiscal 1992. And from my understanding of the account, the chief of police purchases gloves, foul weather equipment for the crossing guards, and they're not full-fledged uniforms, but it's equipment for them during the winter and during rain. And that's all it is. And it is the same amount of money that was in fiscal 1992, and the $100 was back in fiscal 1991. So it's been over a 2-year period. The police chief, if he's still here, can probably comment further on what is exactly bought out of that account. And I'm not sure he even expends that whole amount on a yearly basis.
Sir.
Back in fiscal 91, there was talk of eliminating the crossing guards and reducing them down to very few. And after some more funds were found, we did increase the number of crossing guards, but we never increased the amount of uniform allowance for those people. What is purchased with that money? The stop signs you see, vests, mittens, and hats for crossing guards. That's where the $500 is.
We had still open discussion on the budget. Is there any further questions, comments, or discussion on any line item within this budget? Sir.
My name is Henry Conry, 374 Main Street. I'd like to have some more information on the veterans' rents. Some of the rents have gone up, some more of them have gone down. What is the idea behind this? Somebody asked.
Mr. Montori.
I'll try to answer that the best I can. The rents for the veterans organizations varied. Some veterans organizations received more than other veterans organizations for rent. The intent this year was to give everybody the same amount and make it fair all across the board, since no one, either on the Finance Committee or the Board of Selectmen, understood why one got more than the other. It was felt that, from a fairness standpoint, that they didn't want to cut the rents, but to make everyone equal and give everyone the same amount, and that is $600 apiece.
Did you take into account that some of these organizations have bars and some don't?
Yes, we did.
I don't think you did. I've been walking this street for the last 41 years for the Legion. And I think that we should be cut $150. We could use the money. Thank you.
Is there any further questions, comments, or discussion under any line item within this budget? If not, We will vote at this time.
Mr. Moderator, could I just make one quick comment
Mr.
before
Ward.
before we go to a vote? On behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I'd just like to ask that town meeting approve this budget as presented. We're not happy with a lot of the things that are in here. We struggled, we made it another year, we balanced the budget. I'd like to thank my colleagues on this board, the Finance Committee under its chairman, Phil Bailey, and Mary Ann Notaro, the accountant, and the School Committee under the leadership of Chairman Donnie Lowe and our School Superintendent, Brendan Bailey, our department heads, and especially Richard Montori for the countless hours that he put in, and that everyone worked together to make this work. And a special note also to our town employees, that I know it's tough and that we're asking them to do a lot for less. And we're stretching everyone and we're trying to make it happen. Our DPW are up on doing a sewer project, which is saving the town money. They're doing a tremendous job. It's saving us for contracting that out. We appreciate that. Efforts like that are going to make us get through this. And I think we face our biggest challenge next year. But if we continue to work together, support each other, I think we can make it happen. And I hope that this budget is approved. Thank you.
If there is no further questions, comments, or discussion under the budget has no amendments to it. It is as it is recommended to you by the Finance Committee. This is a hand majority vote. All those in favor of Article 4 as presented, please indicate by raising your hand now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. Article 4 is passed. Sir? Motion has been made to reconsider Article 4. Reconsider Article 4, the article you have just passed. Is there a second to that motion? Sir? Motion has been made and seconded to reconsider Article 4. If you vote yes, you will reopen the budget for further scrutiny. If you vote no, you will uphold the vote you just took. Your budget will be passed and there will be no further discussion of it within the context of this town meeting. All those in favor of reconsideration, please indicate by raising your hand now. And opposed? Thank you. The vote is unanimous not to reconsider. There will be no further discussion on Article 4 during this meeting. Article 5.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the town treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow money from time to time in anticipation of revenue for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 1992, in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 4, and to renew any note as may be given for a period of less than 1 year, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 17.
I second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 5 having been made and seconded, allowing the town treasurer to borrow money with the approval of the Board of Selectmen. This is an annual article. It's on your annual town warrant every year. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. Opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 6.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the town treasurer and town collector to enter into a compensating balance agreement for fiscal year 1993 pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 53F of the Mass General Laws.
I second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 6 having been made and seconded.
Mr. Moderator,
Sir.
I'd like to amend this motion to further state that the compensating balance agreement to be for up to 3 years, beginning fiscal year 1993.
I second that, Mr. Moderator.
A motion to amend Article 6 is now on the floor, having been made and seconded. This is an annual article, ladies and gentlemen. It's been on your article for a number of years, every annual meeting. If you vote to pass this amendment, it would therefore become a 3-year article, and you would probably see it every 3 years. At least you wouldn't see it for the next 2 anyway. Is there any questions, comments, or discussion on the proposed amendment to change it from 1 year to 3? There being none, all in favor of that motion indicate by raising your hand now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The amendment has passed. We are now voting on, or discussing Article 6 as amended from 1 to 3 years. Questions, comments, or discussion? What this article does, ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't know, it requires the treasurer and the tax collector to put funds in an interest-bearing account, funds that they hold. Questions, comments, or discussion on the article as amended? There being none. All in favor indicate by raising your hand now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, Article 7. I move that the town vote to transfer any funds received or to be received from the County of Worcester as a grant under provisions of Chapter 132 of the Mass General Laws as amended to the Department of Public Works, Dutch Elm account.
I second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 7 have been made and seconded. Question, comments, or discussion? There being none. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand now. Thank you. Opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, Article 8. I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds the sum of $4,800 to be expended for social services for the poor and elderly, said money to be expended in accordance with the programs as approved by the Board of Selectmen.
I second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 8 have been made and seconded, dealing with the sum of $4,800 to be expended for social services for the poor and elderly under accordance with the Board of Selectmen. Question, comments, or discussion under Article 8? There being none. All in favor indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, Article 9. I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,500 as Clinton's share to the Community Action Committee, WHEAT Incorporated, which committee is a delegate agency of the Montezut Opportunity Council Incorporated, Sterling.
Second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 9 have been made and seconded. I just want to call to your attention that on the first line, to see if the town will vote to, it says transfer in your town report. That's a misprint. It should say raise. Questions, comments, or discussion under the proposed article? Article 9. There being none. All in favor indicate by raising your hand now. Thank you. Opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 10.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from the stabilization fund the sum $15,600 to be used by the Clinton Police Department to purchase one new police cruiser.
Second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 10 have been made and seconded, dealing with the sum of $15,600 to be used by the Clinton Police Department to purchase one new police cruiser. These funds would come from your stabilization account, which in effect by state law requires a 2/3 vote. This article also has the approval of your Finance Committee. Is there any questions, comments, or discussion under Article 10? Let's try this first, okay? All those in favor indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. Opposed? Thank you. I'm going to try this once more. Being a 2/3 vote, it is clearly 2/3, clearly. If we have a unanimous vote, we will just declare it unanimous and move on. If not, we have to count it. Once again, all those in favor of Article 10, please indicate. Thank you. Thank you. And opposed? We still have hands. You gotta tell us up front, please. I think at this point, just quickly count. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand now, please. Keep your hand in the air until you are sure you are counted. It isn't. It almost is. And all those opposed at this time now, please, just count the negative votes at this time, the noes. The vote is 191 to 9, and the article is passed. Article 11.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the town treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow the sum of $240,000 for the purpose of purchasing and equipping one new fire engine pumper for the Clinton Fire Department.
Second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 11 have been made and seconded, dealing with the sum of $240,000 in which the town would borrow the money to pay for a new fire engine pumper. Inasmuch as this is a borrowing article, it is also a 2/3 vote. This article also bears the approval of your Finance Committee. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 11? There being none, we will take a vote at this time. All in favor of Article 11 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. We'll try once more for unanimous vote, see how we do. We are very close. There are about 3 hands in the air. All those in favor indicate now, please. Thank you. Opposed? Thank you. We still have a few negative votes. Could we just count the negatives first? Like this very quick. The noes in the air now, please. The yes votes at this time, please. I just quickly counted 30. It is 30 to 5, and the article is passed.
Mr. Moderator, I move that we table Article 12.
Second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 12, motion being made by the Board of Selectmen to table Article 12. Questions, comments, or discussion?
We'll talk.
Mr. Montori.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The reason for the article being tabled, after discussions with the Superintendent of Public Works, he has indicated that he is in need of a dump truck with plow, but over the last couple of weeks, he has determined that he's more in need of a backhoe. And the intent of the Board of Selectmen tonight was to amend this article to reflect the purchase of a backhoe, but you cannot do that once the article specifically states what you're purchasing. You cannot amend it for another purpose. So instead of purchasing the truck, the intent of both the Superintendent of Public Works and the Selectmen is to table this article and at a later date, at a special town meeting, revise the article to purchase a backhoe that the Department of Public Works desperately needs. Thank you.
Motion have been made and seconded to table. You've heard why you should table it. Is there anyone who would like to speak why you should not? If not, we will vote. All in favor of tabling Article 12 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. It's passed unanimously. Tabled unanimously. Article 13.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from the ambulance revolving account $85,000 to be used by the Clinton Fire Department to purchase and equip one new ambulance.
Second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article 13 have been made and seconded dealing with the transfer of $85,000 to be used by the Clinton Fire Department to purchase and equip one new ambulance. This being a transfer, it is a hand majority vote. Said article also bears the approval of your Finance Committee. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none. All in favor of Article 13, please indicate by raising your hand now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 14.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from stabilization fund the sum of $15,000 to be used by the Clinton Department of Public Works to purchase one new pickup truck.
Second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 14 have been made and seconded dealing with a sum of $15,000 to be taken from the stabilization fund to be given to the Clinton Department of Public Works to purchase one new pickup truck. This article coming from the stabilization fund requires a 2/3 vote. Said article also bearing the approval of your Finance Committee. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 14? Sir.
Ride Cash is 159 Grove Street. We have just approved an article for the police cruiser to come from the stabilization fund. Is that correct, sir?
Correct.
$15,000. If we take this from $15,000, won't this bring our stabilization fund down to about $7,000?
We do have figures on that, I believe. Mr. Montori?
The account is up close to $850,000, and this transfer of money will bring it down somewhere around $815,000 to $820,000.
Oh, fine.
So a substantial amount of money.
Okay.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion under Article 14? There being none, this article again requires a 2/3 vote. All in favor of Article 14 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. We do have some negative votes. We'll start again with the negatives first in that order. All the no votes for Article 14 indicate by raising your hand now, please. All in favor of Article 14 now indicate by raising your hand now, please. You better count some. Get a few more no's on that. The vote on Article 14 is 152 to 11, and the article is passed. Article 15.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the town treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow the sum of $25,000 for the purpose of conducting a study and survey for implementing a streetlight conversion program.
Second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 15, having been made and seconded, dealing with a sum of $25,000 for the purpose of conducting a study and survey for implementing a streetlight conversion program or act in any manner relating thereto. This article, also bearing the approval of your Finance Committee, is a borrowing article and will require a 2/3 vote as well. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 15? Sir.
Mr. Moderator, I thought it was very nice that we're looking to save money here, and one of the board members for the selectmen there, Mr. Champagne, went out and did it for free, but we can come up with 25 grand to do it I think that's pretty good.
Still under discussion. Mr. Montori.
The purpose of this study is the first step in converting the town's streetlights to what is called the S2 rate with Mass Electric. The S2 rate is a cheaper rate, and the town will own all the fixtures for their streetlights, and they will not have to pay Mass Electric for those fixtures. This new concept was brought to the Board of Selectmen as a proposal, and there's an estimated savings of 50% of the street lighting cost per year to the town without shutting off any streetlights. The Selectmen would like to go further with this study and not only see the lights converted to the S2 rate, but they would also like the study to show what lights could be shut off without losing any illumination on the streets and without jeopardizing public safety. Another thing they would like the study to show is what lights are out there that the town is being billed for that they should not be being billed for, and they would seek a rebate through Mass Electric for those lights that they're being charged for. So this is the first step by the board to address the streetlight problem, which has been lingering for the last several months. And once the study is done, if it warrants an actual conversion of the streetlights, if it looks cost effective, they will come back to town meeting to seek further funding to actually implement the program.
Still under discussion under the article, Article 15. There being none, we'll take a vote at this time, requiring a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of Article 15, please indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. Opposed? My tellers, please. All those in favor of Article 15, please indicate by raising your hand now, please. And opposed to the article at this time, if you would please raise your hand, make sure your hand is in the air until counted. You need the total amount. The vote on Article 15 is 106 yes votes and 62 no votes, and that article is defeated. Needing a 2/3 vote was necessary. Article 16.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town Vote to transfer the sum of $5,580 from the Police Department's compensatory court time account to police overtime account in the Police Department's FY92 budget.
Second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 16 having been made and seconded, dealing with the sum of $5,580 to be transferred from the police compensatory court time to police overtime account. This is for the fiscal year we are just ending at the end of this month. This article bears the approval of your Finance Committee. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 16? There being none, all in favor of Article 16 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 17.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $4,125 from the following line items to the fire overtime account in the Fire Department's fiscal year 92 budget. EMT training comp, $2,350. Fire incentive pay, $1,269. Captain's, acting captain's salary, $506.
Second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 17 have been made and seconded, dealing with a transfer of $4,125 within the Fire Department budget. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 17? This article also bears the approval of your Finance Committee and requires a majority vote. All in favor of Article 17 indicate by raising your hand now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, Article 18. I move that the town vote to authorize and empower the town treasurer to grant an annuity to Josephine Schmidt, widow of William Schmidt of Clinton, in the amount of $2,000 in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 32, Section 95 of the Mass General Laws, and to raise and appropriate a sum of money for this purpose.
Second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 18 have been made and seconded, dealing with the sum of $2,000 for an annuity to Josephine Schmidt, widow of William Schmidt of Clinton. Questions, comments, or discussion under this article? Requires a hand majority vote, and it has your Finance Committee approval. There being none, all in favor indicate by raising your hand now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, Article 19. I move that the town vote to authorize and empower the town treasurer to grant an annuity to Ruth Bovin, widow of Robert J. Bovin of Clinton, in the amount of $2,000 in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 32, Section 95 of the Mass General Laws, and to raise and appropriate a sum of money for this purpose. This article is a result of a petition signed by 10 or more registered voters and submitted to the Board of Selectmen for inclusion on the annual town meeting warrant. And as you will note, Mr. Moderator, that many articles to follow have this note underneath them, and as town meeting knows, these are matters that were brought to the attention of the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen moves them as a courtesy to the petitioners, but these are articles that have been brought before the board by citizens. Thank you.
I second Article 19.
Article number 19 have been made and seconded, dealing with the sum of $2,000 for annuity to Ruth Bovin, widow of Robert Bovin of Clinton. Questions, comments, or discussion? Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your hand now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that we table Article 20.
I second that, Mr. Moderator.
Motion has been made and seconded to table Article 20. Article 20 dealing as written to reimburse Rita McNally for the tax monies withheld from her non-taxable pension covering the years 1977 through 1986 totaling $15,618.50, and to raise and appropriate or take from available funds. This article being a result of a petition signed by 10 or more taxpayers to be put on your annual town meeting warrant. Motion have been made and seconded to table. Mr. Montori.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The reason for this article being tabled, through discussions with the Department of Revenue, the attorneys in the Local Services Bureau have indicated that this article should not be on the town meeting warrant and is out of the purview of the town meeting because it deals with, first of all, it deals with a tax that the town did not impose. It's an issue that should be dealt with the Internal Revenue Service and not with the town. And according to the attorneys at the Department of Revenue, it's an article that does not appropriate money for a lawful purpose and that the town should not even allow it on the warrant, and that is why the board is tabling it and asking the petitioner to seek relief from the Internal Revenue Service and not the town. Thank you.
Okay, again, we are under discussion. I have allowed, generally the discussion is not allowed under a motion table, but I think there's a greater law, and that's, you have to understand what you're voting on. You have been told by the board why they are asking you to table this article. If there is someone who would like to give an argument why it should not be tabled, I will allow it at this time, and then we would take a vote on tabling the article. There being none. In terms of procedure,
Lois McNally, 115 Beacon Street. Rita McNally is my mother. Now, this mistake was not made by the IRS. This mistake was made by the town, and I don't see what the problem is. It's the town problem. The IRS did not make this mistake. The town made it. They kept taking withholding tax out of her pension and a non-taxable pension.
let me just clarify something here, okay? We're not really debating here the merits or the lack of merits of Article 20.
Well, they
just listen, please. What we are discussing is the motion has been made by the selectmen to table because the Department of Revenue has advised the town, their lawyers, that the article does not belong on a town meeting warrant.
Right.
Okay? And that is why,
So where does it belong?
according to the Department of Revenue, I believe it takes a special act of the legislature.
You've got to be kidding me.
This is according to the Department of Revenue.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I just want everybody to understand the procedure here and what will follow, depending upon whether you do or do not vote to table. I have allowed one discussion on why you should table, one discussion on why you should not. At this time, it's really your decision. If you vote to table, it will be finished from this, at least this particular time. If you vote not to table, this article has been disapproved by your Finance Committee. According to town bylaws of 1914, all articles that do not bear the approval of the Finance Committee costing more than $10,000 must be voted on by ballot. So should we vote on this article, if you do not table it, it will be by secret ballot vote. A question of procedure, I'll take it, sir.
Receive her money back. Thank you.
Okay, we're done here with, I really don't want any further discussion on this. If we're going to have discussion, if you vote not to table, we'll have discussion at that time. To table requires a 2/3 vote. All in favor of tabling Article 20, indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. Opposed? Thank you. Well, we're going to count this, okay? Once again, all in favor of tabling Article 20, indicate by raising your hand now, please, and wait till your hand is counted before putting it down. Thank you. And all opposed to tabling at this time, please make sure your hand remains in the air until it is counted. The vote, ladies and gentlemen, was 109 votes to table and 63 not to. And it is slightly short of 2/3, so the article is not tabled. So we will now proceed with Article 20. Okay. Mr. Gibbons, go ahead. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just received a challenge to the quorum. We will count this one, okay? Count the quorum, count everyone. Could you have everyone inside, come outside the black doors, come inside, please? Everyone come inside. Ladies and gentlemen, there are presently 184 people in the hall. Quorum, as we said, is 250. It is unrealistic to expect that we could get that number of people back here in the hall this evening, given the hour. The articles that have been voted on remain voted on and remain passed or failed as you dealt with them. The major concern of the Board of Selectmen in my talking to them is Article 21. That deals with the equal educational opportunity grant from the state, the sum of $373,000 that will not be voted on this evening. And that money is needed by the school department. Given what's left on the warrant, given what's left on the warrant, the Board of Selectmen, in consultation here, has decided the best thing to do is to reschedule a new meeting where the quorum will be 50 people less. Given that the summer is coming, it gets hotter and more difficult. People take vacations, it's just more difficult in general. Trying to continue this with what is left on the warrant would be very, very difficult. Articles, for those who are concerned, articles that were not voted on this evening, the selectmen will call for a date. Those can be resubmitted for a special town meeting. They will call that as they see fit after consultation with the school department and other things that need to be done. Is there any question as to, sir? We could do that, sir, but to do that would require a quorum before we could start the new meeting, and it is the opinion of the stage that getting a quorum for the remaining articles, keep in mind the budget is passed and done with, getting a quorum for the remaining articles of 250 would be difficult. It might be easier to schedule a special meeting where the quorum is 50 people less. That's not carved in stone, but that's the opinion of the stage. It's a legitimate question, one that will be discussed at the next selectmen's meeting, and watch Channel 30, you'll find out. They will decide and give you an answer at that meeting at that time. Any other questions in terms of points? There being none, ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is adjourned.